You see everything. No, you can't. All right, this will be good enough. My head's chopped off. What do you expect? Hey, Jamie. Hey, Natalie. By the way, I'm live on Facebook and on YouTube at the same time. So if you could go to Planet Salonki on Facebook and like that. From there, there should be a link to get to the YouTube channel. So what I wanted to talk about, unless anyone else has any questions, I just got some guitar mods, and this is my Epiphone Nighthawk. This is probably my go-to guitar these days. Never really was a big fan of Epiphones, but I saw a review in some guitar magazine about the Gibson Nighthawks, and thought that I looked at one. They looked pretty cool. The one that was in the review had this really cool looking flame maple top. It was a Gibson, so it was a really nice guitar. At some point, a friend of mine was selling his Epiphone Nighthawk. So this is an Epiphone version of the Nighthawk. A few things that I guess were the place that he bought this one from, they perhaps gave him some incorrect and inaccurate information about it. So now I have this kind of set up the way I want to, mostly set up the way I want to, and these are the things that I got changed. So if this were a Gibson Nighthawk, all the inners would probably be okay, but it's an Epiphone Nighthawk, so all the inners are probably not okay. So I took this out to Making Music in Frederick, had Rick do all this work, did a fantastic job. So all the wiring inside of here is new. All the pots are new. There is new, actually not new caps, but he installed caps on the volume pot. There's certain caps that you can install on here so that when you turn the volume down, you still kind of get a full tone, and it's not just cutting the highs and cut the lows. Hey, Jeff. So anyway, new wiring inside, new pots for the volume and tone. The pickup selector switch was a little wonky because if I went from one position to the next, it would kind of cut out, and then it would cut back in when I got to the next position. So that's been fixed. This is a switchcraft in here. This mini toggle switch, nothing really wrong with that, so we just kind of left it alone. He did notice, though, that inside on the inners there were some wires that just didn't go anywhere, so he kind of connected all that up. Hey, John. And then a new jack, so he put a switchcraft jack on here. The one that was in there was kind of loosey-goosey. I kind of plugged something in there, and I wasn't really sure if it would stay in or not. So that's part of what he did. New wiring, new pots, new selector switch here, new jack. That's all the stuff back here. Up here, then, he's done a couple cool things. And this is something I've always wanted to try. This is a zero glide nut. A zero glide nut is one of those zero fret installs, I guess you could call that. So what you do is you call the company, or you go to the site at stumac.com. There's a couple other places that sell them, and you find the nut, the pre-cut nut. And this is bone, by the way, that they send you. A pre-cut nut that is the spacing of your nut that comes with your guitar. That's the first step. If they don't have something that matches your spacing, you buy a blank and you cut it yourself. I don't know how to cut a nut. Rick knows how to cut a nut, but I wanted to make it easy for him as possible. So it turns out that this is a replacement for a Martin guitar, but the string spacing was identical to what they put on these Epiphones. I think there was like maybe 1/16 off somewhere. I don't really feel that much of a difference in it, but maybe at some point I'll feel something. I'm not too sure. But at any rate, the nut isn't what cuts the string off the break angle down here. I don't know if you can see. I'll bring it a little closer to the camera. There is a fret right in front of that nut, and that fret is what is causing that break. So the nut just guides the string to the right spot and the right spacing. The fret then is what causes that open string tuning. Now, the benefit of having something like that, the height of the string at that nut spot is going to be lower. So you could get lower overall action across the entire fretboard. Also because the break angle is a lot less, which means that the spot that it goes over the nut is lower. That also means that the string is lower, so your intonation is more accurate throughout the entire fretboard. Less intonation issues. And I've kind of already noticed that, even though I played it once or twice since. So that's the main thing that I was really not concerned about. The main thing I wanted to try was the Zero Glide. This is from the company called Zero Glide, by the way. Although there are other companies that make a zero fret system. There's also on some of the Fenders. There's they make roller nuts that are kind of low to the fingerboard. So new guts here, new jack, Zero Glide, and also while we're at it, we put on some locking tuners. These are from D'Addario or Planet Waves. I'm sure somewhere out there someone could tell me what that logo is. I forget what I bought. It's either D'Addario or Planet Waves or something. Even though I think Planet Waves is D'Addario. Hey, Kim. And the thing that I like about the locking tuners is I don't have to pull the string through, get some slack, wind it all the way up. You pretty much pull the string all the way through, tighten it up, and you cut it right immediately and then tune it to pitch. And I do that because, as I like to put it, the talent does not change his own strings. And so really, I'm not good at changing strings, even though you would think I would know how to do that by now. This system makes it a lot easier. And this system even takes it one step beyond. If you do it the right way, you pull the string all the way through, you tighten it up in the back, you cut it off. Or you don't have to cut it off. As soon as you tune it up to pitch and get so close to pitch, it cuts the string by itself. I don't know how it does that. There's got to be some sort of magic and sorcery that does that, because I'm looking at the design, and unless I see something somewhere, I just don't know how it cuts that string. But anyway, it does it. So anyway, those are all the mods in there. Didn't want to get new. Actually, I did want to get new pickups. Hey, April. But I couldn't find. I mean, it's easy to find a single coil to replace that. I could probably find a replacement short humbucker. This is not a. It's not a single coil. It's not a humbucker. What's the thing in the middle? Hey, Wendy. Whatever that is. It's not that. This is a humbucker. It's got two coils in there. And of course, we got the slanted humbucker in the back, which is what the Nighthawks are known for. There's only one company that makes a replacement for that, and that's Duncan. It's their JB model that is slanted like this. That is a direct replacement for these. At some point, though, someone had mentioned just changing the wiring and all this stuff is going to make a world of difference. So that's the first thing I did. Cut the pickups. It don't sound too bad. So I'm just going to noodle for a little bit. If you got questions, ask. So far, nothing here on the YouTubes and on the Facebook. I see no questions yet. So I'll keep checking. If you've got a question, speak up. So anyway, I'm going to turn this on. I'm using my X5 wireless system, by the way. Right there. Thanks for that, guys. Thanks for the X5 people for that. It's just a small digital guitar wireless system that works really well. Somewhere around here is my battery pack that I use, but I'm not haven't used that in a while. So here we go. I'm going to play an open A string. Well, that sounds cool already. Actually, I like the way that sounds. A little out of tune, but it's easy enough to tune with these. Also, these gears are pretty slick, and they feel really good. It takes a little longer to get to the pitch that you want, but you don't have to whine forever to get it tuned up when you put new strings on. So I kind of appreciate that. Hey, Wendy. So far sounds good. I'm playing through my Digitech 2120. I don't know if you can see that. I'm kind of in the way. This is the best sounding unit that I have. It's Digitech 2120 valve guitar system. This is the artist one. And for the longest time, when I played with, I did a little ditty with 40 rounds and some other stuff, recording and studio work. This is what I use. It's the best thing I have. It actually sounds better than my new Digitech floor processor that I use now live, that everyone digs. I remember the first time I used that in front of a lot of people. Someone came up, looked at me, kind of looked around and kind of see what amp I was using. Of course, I don't use an amp on stage because I just use this, or I use my floor processor. This sounds better, I think, because it's got tubes in it. So there's actually 2 tubes in the preamp of this processor. One's for the distorted channel, one's for the clean channel. Hey, Kenny. And so that's why this sounds better. The problem with this, though, is if you want a certain sound, like if I want this to sound like a Marshall, I got the preamp to use, and I got all sorts of things, effects, pre and post effects that I can use on this. But there's nothing in here where I can just turn on dial and say, give me a JCM 800. I just can't get that. Or give me a JCM 900 XL, which is the kind of Marshall that I do like. The 900 XL is 900, except they got rid of the diode that some people didn't like, and just added an extra preamp to it. I think it sounds better. So there's no dial in here that just give me a Marshall, give me a Boogie, give me a Fender, give me whatever. You select how much gain you want in the preamp. You tell it, and there's a solid state preamp in this, so you don't have to use the tubes if you don't want to. But it gives you a 31 band EQ, so you sit there and you EQ it the way you want it to. So it's a little bit harder to get some of the sounds that you want. Hi, Kenny. Oh, hi again, Kenny. You have to work with it to get the sounds that you want. But once you have the sound, this thing is golden. I have the speaker simulator in it turned off because I actually have it plugged into the CD input of this little practice Marshall. These little Marshalls don't sound all the best, but when you put something like this in front of it, it actually sounds good. So it's plugged into the CD input, so I have the speaker, the cabinet emulator and all that turned off on here because this is a real cabinet speaker, so I don't really need to double up on it. The input is a pretty solid and straight input. Oh, I thought someone dinged me. No one dinged me. I am going to turn this up a little bit, though, so you can hear a little bit better. Hopefully you can hear that. Can y'all hear that? Who's watching? I got 2 people watching. Can you hear this? Please let me know if you can hear that. So the last thing that we did on this Nighthawk is changed. Hey, Tyler. Hopefully you can hear me. You can hear this. The last thing we did was we changed the pickup selector switch and how it worked. So the default Nighthawk selector, if it's in the all the way back position, you get this humbucker. The second position were both humbuckers. And then the middle position was the front humbucker. So the first 3 positions kind of acted like a Les Paul. Hey, Stacy. And then the 4th position was these 2 pickups here. And then the 5th position were these 2 pickups. And then you had a coil tap, so you can really get your Strat sounds out of whatever you need to here. So if this is coil tap, then this works just like a Strat. That's back single coil. I think it's the outside coil. Outside and middle, and outside here, and then just the front outside here. And of course, this just puts it back in. And if you notice, this doesn't cut out anymore. Well, that was weird. Something cut out. Huh, interesting. So if I'm in the middle and I go to there, I'm in humbucker mode. I should have both of these pickups. I'm getting nothing. But if I go all the way back and then back to it, now I get it. That's kind of weird. So I'm going to just noodle a little bit and see what kind of sounds I can get. I'm kind of excited about it. I got a gig this Saturday at the Captain Bender's. I'll probably be using this guitar for that. So let me just see what we got. I like it. One thing that I used to be able to do on this when I used like 9s and 10s is gristle, bending the string behind here. Let me see if that works with this new Zero Glide. Yep. Not so easy. Again, the break angle up here is a lot lower than it used to be, so I really can't get too much of a dig back there, but I can probably also pull it. Instead of pushing it down, I'm gonna have to pull it. There's my little finger, though. I don't want to pull my finger. All right. Not real loud. Oh. All right, Kenny. Hopefully that works. I don't want to get it too loud and wake the neighbors. Already sounds better. Okay, Denny. For those of you just joining, talking about my upgraded guitar here. New innards, new pickup selector switch, new jack, new tone pots with the cap to keep the tone from dying if I turn the tone down. The Zero Glide, nut system up here, locking tuners. What did I miss? I think that might be everything. Oh, and the way that the pickups are selected are a little bit upgraded. So that was the back pickup. I'm gonna go back pickup and coil the tap the coil, tap. So this is a single coil, assuming humbucker, single. Immediately the single coil just makes me play like shit. So the single coil with the new wiring has a little bit more bite than normal. I don't know if bite is the right word. Maybe it's clarity that I'm hearing here. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a difference. I like it though. So I'm gonna keep it in single coil and go to the second position, which would be my normal strat. which is going to be my back pickup here, I believe, in the middle. That sounds cool. It almost sounds like a, hey Jeremy, it sounds like a Stratty, pickup combination there. So this is single coil, just the middle pickup. I like that middle. I like that middle. It's got some chunk to it. It's got some chunk, so it doesn't get lost. Still coil tapped. It's going to be this position here, so it should be the middle and the front. I don't know what key I'm just playing. I'm in the key of Z minus, people. Live it. Learn it. I like that. And again, that sounds similar to, not exactly, but it sounds similar enough to a Strat with the front two here. The one thing that I really haven't tried is I know like you can go between 1, 2, 3, and 4 on a Strat and kind of get this out of phase thing going on. Hey, Denny. That doesn't seem to happen here. And now this is just this humbucker, but it's in single coil mode, so it's just a single coil. I think it's the one closest to the neck. Sounds sweet. It sounds nice. The whole, I don't know if it's the wiring, or maybe it's the wiring is making me think that I'm playing better, but when I finger through this stuff. It sounds better. I like that. I'm going to go all the way back now. Humbucker. We kind of played around with the humbucker a little bit, but. Sounds good. Humbucker in the middle. Middle, we already looked at that. Middle, and then the front humbucker. my fat keeps my hand from wanting to go in the right position. Can't do nothing about that yet. But hey, I'm getting there. Leave me alone. And then front humbucker. A little sloppy. Hey, Eric. Good. So that's it. So all this new pickup. One thing I think we figured out needs to get fixed is this. Ha! Ha! Where'd my sound go? So something is getting ill terminated in there. What if I go to single? Nope, same thing. So this is dead here, but as we mentioned before, if I go back, all the way back and come right back up to it, now we're there. So something's a little wonky. I'll just try not to use that for Saturday, which should be good. Saturday's going to be acoustic, so yeah, I use my electric on some of those gigs. I'm probably going to Singapore a lot. Take some cool tones up here. I like it. I like the changes. Except for that one. If you're playing live, you want people to think you really know what you're doing, just flub this thing. Look at that. Don't have to do much. Look at that. It's nothing. I dig it. Give me your comments on what you think. Just to let you know again, just rewired all of this stuff in here. All new wiring. New pickup selector switch. This one's got to get fixed. I don't know what the deal is with that. New wiring underneath here. What else? Zero glide. Zero glide nut system. Look it up. It's pretty cool. I like it. The action on this is probably a little bit lower than what I like. He mentioned that when he got it, it was god-awful high. I tend to like god-awful high, so you might want to... I'll play around with it. I'll play around with it. One thing that I've noticed is my hand, as I get older, my hands hurt. And these are still 11s, but without the high action. And they do feel a little bit better, perhaps a little bit easier to play. But it doesn't feel what I'm used to. So I'll play with it a little bit and see if I want to get that raised. And then the locking tuners with the auto cutoff. You tune it up to your pitch. When they get close to standard pitch, which is going to be A440 standard E tuning, they just cut themselves. And again, I'm looking at this, and I have no idea how it's going to cut. Hey, Eric, it's going well. I'm here noodling and talk about the changes, the mods on my guitar, and answering questions. And oh, there's a question on YouTube, and the question, what? What is a simple way to know the rest of? I'm assuming the question is, what's an easy way to kind of know how to get up and down the fretboard? And so the tip that comes to my mind right now to do that, and also to better your playing and open up your playing a little bit, you almost have to cripple yourself. And I learned this the hard way. I was at a gig and 2 of my strings broke. 2 of them. Part of the reason that my strings broke was I'm just playing like that, man. I play so rough and so tough. I'm breaking strings. I'm breaking 11s. And oh, that's the wrong button. The other reason is I use elixirs on my guitars, and I just kind of keep them on. I'm not that rich. I'm not independently wealthy like some of you are. So I just keep them on, and they last a long time anyway. Take good care of them. At least I think they do, if you take good care of them. And so anyway, 2 strings broke, and they just happened to be, I think, my A string and the G string. Yeah, it was the A string and the G string that broke. So it's kind of limited in what I could play because I didn't have those 2 strings. And so when it came time to doing chords and stuff like that, I had to, just octave my way through a lot of stuff, vibrato the hell out of single notes as I could. And then when it came time to playing some lead and solos, again, I was crippled because I didn't have this string here. And so what that forced me to do was it forced me to play on a minimal amount of strings. And I think this is good. A good tip, no matter what instrument you're playing, find a way to cripple what you're playing with. So the way to cripple yourself on guitar is pretend like you only have 1 string, right? So if you want to learn how to play something up the entire fretboard, then pick a scale that you think you probably play in most of. Now, on guitar, and if you play a lot of rock guitar, that's going to be like E minor. So here's my E, and here's my E minor scale on just that 1 string. So noodle around with just that string for a long time, and eventually you will know that string and which frets and what notes belong in the key of E minor on that 1 string. And then cripple yourself again. Don't use E minor anymore. Just use the high E string or use the G string. Just kind of go 1 string at a time. If you're a drummer, I think one of the best things to do as a drummer, if you want to cripple yourself to kind of play better and play more with what you have, I think, first of all, get rid of the double kick. Go with a single kick for a while. It's going to open up a lot of stuff if you learn how to do that. Hey, Rick. Also, get rid of your toms. Or not get rid of them, but don't use them for a while. And I think when you stop using your toms for a while, you'll realize that what you're playing to replace the toms, you don't have like a whole fill to use for that, right? You're down to snare and kick, maybe grooving on the hi-hat or something like that, but you'll find that you'll be playing a lot of your fills that you don't use your toms on your hi-hat. So now you're stuck with 1 hi-hat, and if you use the same dynamic for all your fills on the hi-hat, it's going to sound amateurish. So you start going, oh, well, how can I make that better? Start working with dynamics, just on the, not the hi-hat, but the snare. Just work on the dynamics on the snare. Do all your fills on the snare and make it sound interesting. And then, oh, wow, I'm able to do that. And I can play pretty good, and it's sounding pretty good, and it's sounding better with just the snare. Then cripple yourself again and maybe take away something else. Or maybe you want to start bringing or introducing on drums other things back. I mean, it's kind of hard to play without a kick or a snare. That's kind of the minimum what you need, maybe a hi-hat, right? So I wouldn't remove something else. But just like the guitar, move your thing around. Keep moving your targets. For the drums, you get done with the kick and snare and the hi-hat, bring in 1 tom, and maybe you can work with a feel that goes between the snare and the toms. Still have to work on dynamics because you're now limited down to 2 things that you can use. Of course, you still got your kicks. So maybe you can do some kind of things with that. So that's my tip. Thanks for that question. I appreciate it. Cripple yourself. The other thing you can do on guitar is, if you like to put, let's say you like the pentatonic scale, right? That's my A minor pentatonic. We call that the A minor pentatonic because we're starting on A. And we're pretty much following the pattern for a minor scale, except we're omitting some notes. And that's essentially what we're doing. Hey, Jeff. Technically, there is no beginning or end to a pentatonic scale. It's just the 5 notes. There's no start or end. There's no center for pentatonic. But again, in rock guitar and rock music, we break some of those rules and make things easier for us to understand. So let's say you like to play an A minor pentatonic. Well, then what I would do is pick 3 notes out of that you might like. So I'll pick this one, and this one. So I got those 3 notes. So now, if you're playing something in the key of A, even something simple like that, right? Just use those 3 notes, and you can't use anything else. Once you're done completely working with that, you will know those 3 notes like the back of your hand, and you'll know how they sound with everything that needs to happen. And when you're done with that, then move to 3 more notes. Maybe you want to work on. So even with those 3 notes, there's a little melody in there that seemed to be not the best melody in the world. But let's face it, I'm Vijay, so I always play the best melodies in the world. Just kidding. Calm down. So do that, and that will open up your guitar playing a lot. If you're a drummer, kick the snare, hi-hat, run with it for a while. What other questions we got? Facebook is quiet. We got some people there. YouTube is quiet. Another question on the stream. Let's see. My eyes are bad, by the way. I have a cataract in this eye. This eye's had 2 laser surgeries and cataract. Hey, Scott. And so it's kind of hard for me to see. Question is, how do you play more melodically on the guitar? I'm assuming that's for guitar, not for drums, or even, this works for bass too. If you want to play melodically, I would put down the shred hat for a while and slow down. So when people think of playing melodically, hey Ted, I'm answering questions and talking about my guitar mods. So the last question is, how do you play more melodically? And so what I would recommend if you wanted to do something like that is to put down the shred hat for a while. And there's a lot of people out there. I'm telling you, I've seen some kids that shred better than most of the adult guitar players that I know. And probably the best guitar player in the world right now is some little kid playing in his basement or his room with some cheap guitar that he can barely afford, playing through some cheap amp that he can barely afford, without all the whiz bangs and the G's. But the dude's got heart, and he's in there, he's practicing. And anyway, I digress. So what I meant by putting the shred thing down is, a lot of people do stuff really fast, and it sounds cool to be able to do that, and it's appropriate. But if you want to play melodically, you have to think about what a melody sounds like in a piece of music or in a song, right? There's 2, I think, components to doing that. You're not going to hear a lot of fast singers that jump up and down. Maybe in jazz. Only if you put a thing in here. So obviously that's one thing. The other thing that I think happens with melodic singing is there's not jumping in the intervals between the song or what you're singing. Most notes go to the same note, or they might go up a little bit, or they might go down a little bit. But you're not going to hear a lot of songs where the singer is doing acrobatic interval jumps with his notes. An interval, by the way, is the distance between two notes. So if you wanted to do that on guitar, hey Danny, then I would recommend starting out. I'm going to do my singer pole here in the middle. I would recommend picking whatever key that you're in and playing a solo or noodling some backing track and trying not to go too fast and just jumping, not jumping between these large interval things, but just go from note to note and see what happens. You may not like it. You may like it. You may at some point say, I like that, but I also think here I might want to jump higher than just one note at a time. So, I might start with something like this. So that was something that was just, it was off the cuff of my head, but it was I just went up a note or down a note. Diatonic to the scale. Diatonic, of course, means that you're in the scale, you're not using any weird notes. Kind of accidentally hit a weird note there. I'm going to call that musical embellishment. And it didn't sound too bad. There were times, however, that I did want to jump to a note. So when I went down here, we're going down a major third. That's the major third also. Obviously not the next note. I'm skipping a note to get there. But I find that to be more melodic than, I couldn't really do I haven't done that in a long time. I still can't do it. Anyway, that sounds cool. And, if you're trying to do something cool like that, then that's fine. It's certainly a skill to have. But if you want something melodic, try to go from one note to the next note. Don't skip around too much. And maybe that'll help you out. Sometimes you got to skip. Sometimes you don't have to skip. Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Facebook is quiet right now. We got some people there. YouTube, we got some people there. Hello, everyone. Also, I'm on my laptop, and I'm running on battery. I started at 100%, and I'm at 28%. So when I get to 10, I'm signing off, people. Let's see what else here. Question. What's my favorite guitar? Well, right now, this is my favorite guitar. This is my my Epiphone. Or I'll say this is the guitar I use most often. This is my Nighthawk. We just talked about the mods that I did on this. My favorite guitar of all time, though, is probably going to be my old 1985 Ibanez. It's an X Series guitar. You've probably seen a picture of me. I don't have it nearby where I can show it to you. But it's one of those pointy-shaped guitars. It was my first real guitar after my first guitar. My first guitar was a copy of an SG, a bad copy, with a weird neck, and the action had to be high because the neck was so messed up, and that's kind of why I started liking high action. Anyway, so my 1985 made in Japan Ibanez feels like home to me. For what I play most often, it's going to be this Epiphone Nighthawk. I do like my Gibson Les Paul. My back does not like my Gibson Les Paul. What else do I have? I have a white Ibanez 350DX, which I do like. It's got a Floyd. At one point, I wanted a guitar with a floating tremolo on it, just to have one. Hey, Wayne. But I've used it. I guess I used it with 40 rounds, and when I first started out with low class with LCT. But because of the locking tremolo system and the floating Floyd, I can't do anything drop D on it. It's a great guitar. The neck, the Wizard necks on those things are pretty good. But I can't see myself doing a 1 hour benefit gig and taking 2 guitars with me. It just doesn't make sense. So I'll take this or the Les Paul. That would be that's my answer. You asked for my favorite guitar, but I guess I gave you a couple different guitars. Facebook's quiet, got a couple people. YouTube, quiet, got a couple people. Not expecting too much today because it's almost 11 o'clock. Question is, I don't understand the question. How do you know? Oh, how do you know what key you're in? Well, that's easy. Chances are the first chord that you hit is going to be the key that you're in. So if I do this, first thing was E, and I think that song, well, actually, it goes to the A. We're going to say this is the key of E, but chances are the first chord that you hit is going to be the key that you're in. After that, then you kind of have to see where the chords are going, what chords you're hitting. If I'm here, that's E. I'm playing a power chord, which again isn't really a chord; it's a harmonic interval. Which a power chord doesn't have a quality of a major or minor. If I was playing an E major, let me turn this down a little bit. So if my first chord is an E major, chances are I'm going to be in the key of E major, which means I have an E major, A major, and a B major. Same chord that we have in a lot of songs. Right, it's just 1, 4, 5. Specifically with the song that I did earlier, what is that? Tora Tora? I'm using these notes. This one, that one. So from E to here, that would be what we have in an E minor pentatonic. If it was major, it would be this. Because this would be the first 3 notes of major, first 3 notes of minor. The difference is this third here. So that, and also if you find where you're soloing, you can kind of pick out what key you're in by your pattern. This is a pattern that most people know. Right? So if you're there, then you know that you're either going to be in this key, which is what? C? Major. So you're either going to be in the key of C major or you're going to be in A minor. So which means that here's your other C, and there's your A. C major and A minor are relatives. Which means they share the same notes. So it'll be one of those 2 keys. That's how you determine that. Or you can just ask. Sometimes at open mic night, someone's like, hey, let's do this song. And I'll be like, okay, what key? And sometimes I don't even ask what key because I'll kind of know how the song goes. I'll know what the relative progression is. So sometimes I'm just asking, what's the first note that you're hitting? And a lot of times that helps. All right, I'm down to 19% battery. Let's see if I have more questions. Questions. It's odd because I'm streaming on 3 things. I thought I would get some questions on Facebook or the YouTube, but I don't. It's on the 3rd thing. Question is, how can you strengthen your hand to play more chords? How do you strengthen your hand to play more chords? Well, I guess the first thing is if you just start playing chords, that kind of, your hand has that muscle memory and has to learn how to be in the right position to play chords. So if you're talking about power chords, playing power chords. I'm a big fan of the one for this one. You can use your pinky if you want. It's all in what you got. I like this one because then I can put my pinky if I want to, instead of flattening that out. I'm also very vain. That doesn't look as good as this to me. And also, with this, it's kind of hard to do that, whereas this, I can do that, or that if I need to. Depends on where I'm going. The other thing that I would recommend is if you know your octaves on the lower registry here. If you know your octaves on the cash register, then you can put your pick down. Pick down. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Actually, let me do this. Whoops, how do I do this? I want to get out. Bring out. Hold on, don't go anywhere. I want to get out of this thing. Oh. That was easier than I thought. I hit the wrong button. Anyway, after you put your pick down, and you know where your octaves are on the cash register, then you will take your left hand and maneuver it about on the lower end, playing just the octaves, which means you got to do this. Don't. Get little pinchers out, squeezing your head. So we want to make sure that we have one finger per fret. That's how we start. Also a good little practice. I'm going to play the open E string, and I'll play the E octave, which is going to be on my D string, 2nd fret. That's my first octave right there. Now, without moving the hand position, I'm going to play the next octave, which is going to be my F. So I got to put my 1st and 3rd finger down. The next one then is going to be my F sharp, which is going to be my middle finger, my pinky. So far we have E, F, F sharp, excuse me, E, F, F sharp. Now for the G, I've run out of fingers to go up this way, but I have the next note, which is going to be the open G string. So I can do that, which means you just got one finger right there. Now this is going to be a little stretch because it's going to be your pinky for the G sharp and your 1st finger on G sharp. Okay. Now we get to relax a little bit because the next finger up, we run out of fingers, but the next note up here is going to be your open A string. And we're back to that. Now this next one is going to be here. And the next one is going to be your middle finger here and then your pinky.